Jennifer Walsh had been practicing American Sign Language since she was 12 years old, but she never imagined it would change her life during a routine job interview. Standing in the gleaming lobby of Westbrook Industries' downtown Chicago headquarters, she nervously straightened her navy blazer and checked her resume one last time. The receptionist had informed her that Mr. Westbrook would be running 15 minutes late, so Jennifer took the opportunity to compose herself, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a stunning view of Lake Michigan. "Jennifer? I'm so sorry to keep you waiting," a warm, gentle voice called from across the lobby. Jennifer turned to see an elegant older woman with silver hair and kind eyes approaching her. She wasn't the hiring manager Jennifer had expected, but something about the woman's gait, slightly hesitant, eyes especially attentive, triggered Jennifer's instinct. The woman extended her hand, and Jennifer smiled, taking it firmly while simultaneously signing, "It's very nice to meet you," with her free hand. The change in the woman's face was instant. Her eyes widened, and a brilliant smile transformed her features. She immediately released Jennifer's hand and responded with fluid signs. "You know ASL, what a delightful surprise. I'm Margaret Westbrook." Without missing a beat, Jennifer signed back, "I'm Jennifer Walsh. I'm here for the marketing coordinator interview." Margaret's hands flew excitedly. "My son will be thrilled. Not many people in the corporate world bother to learn sign language." A deep voice interrupted their silent conversation. "Mom, I see you've met one of our candidates." Jennifer turned to find herself facing a tall man, with intense blue eyes and dark hair touched with silver at the temples. He wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit that suggested both wealth and taste, but it was his expression that caught Jennifer's attention. A mixture of surprise and curiosity, as his gaze moved between her and his mother. "This is a first," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Jackson Westbrook." Jennifer shook his hand, acutely aware of his imposing presence. "Jennifer Walsh, it's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Westbrook." Margaret began signing rapidly to her son, and Jennifer couldn't help but notice the slight flush that rose to Jackson's face as he watched his mother's enthusiastic gestures. "My mother says you have excellent form," Jackson translated, a hint of amusement in his voice. "She also says I should hire you immediately, regardless of your qualifications." Jennifer laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly. "I'd prefer to earn the position properly, but I appreciate the vote of confidence. Where did you learn to sign so fluently?" he asked, as he guided Jennifer and his mother toward the elevator. "My best friend growing up was deaf," Jennifer explained, both speaking and signing simultaneously for Margaret's benefit. "Sophia and I met in 6th grade, and I was determined to communicate with her properly. Her family taught me." The elevator doors opened to reveal a stunning executive floor. As they walked toward Jackson's office, Jennifer noted employees' surprised expressions as she continued signing with Margaret. It was clear that few people communicated directly with the Westbrook matriarch. Once seated in Jackson's spacious office, Jennifer realized this wasn't going to be a typical interview. Margaret insisted on staying, positioning her chair beside Jennifer's instead of next to her son's desk. "So, Jennifer," Jackson began, reviewing her resume, "your experience is impressive for someone only 28. Tell me why you left Meridian Advertising after achieving such success there." Jennifer hesitated, knowing this question could determine everything. She could give the safe answer, career growth, new challenges, but something about Margaret's attentive eyes made her opt for honesty. "My direct supervisor took credit for my campaign ideas," she signed, and spoke simultaneously. "After the third time it happened, I presented evidence to the company president. Instead of addressing the issue, they offered me a raise to keep quiet." She straightened her shoulders. "I declined. Some things matter more than money." Margaret nodded approvingly, while Jackson's expression remained unreadable. He asked several more standard questions, but Jennifer sensed they were merely formalities. The real interview was happening in the silent exchange between Jennifer and Margaret. As the interview concluded, Jackson stood to shake her hand. "We'll be in touch by the end of the week, Miss Walsh." "Actually," Margaret signed, standing as well, "Jennifer must join us for lunch. I insist." Jennifer watched the silent communication between mother and son, Margaret's determined gestures and Jackson's reluctant nods. Whatever was transpiring, Margaret clearly had the upper hand. "Would you be available for lunch today, Ms. Walsh?" Jackson finally asked, his tone suggesting this was far from normal protocol. "My mother would like to continue your conversation." "I'd be honored," Jennifer replied, mystified by this unexpected turn of events. 30 minutes later, Jennifer found herself seated at an exclusive restaurant overlooking Millennium Park. Margaret dominated the conversation, her hands flying as she asked about Jennifer's family, education, and interests. Jackson translated occasionally, though Jennifer noticed he often shortened his mother's elaborate questions. "You're leaving things out," Jennifer signed to Jackson with a knowing smile. Margaret burst into silent laughter, her shoulders shaking with mirth. "You caught me," Jackson admitted, a genuine smile transforming his serious face. "Mom asked if you were single, and I chose to exercise editorial discretion." Jennifer blushed, but answered directly to Margaret, "I am single. My last relationship ended a year ago." "Perfect timing," Margaret signed back enigmatically, ignoring her son's warning glance. By the time dessert arrived, Jennifer felt strangely at ease with both Westbrooks. Margaret shared stories of Jackson as a boy, learning sign language to communicate with his mother after her illness caused her to lose her hearing. Jackson, initially reserved, gradually revealed a sharp wit and unexpected warmth as he recounted his struggles to master ASL. As lunch concluded, Jackson excused himself to take an important call, leaving Jennifer and Margaret alone. Margaret leaned forward, her signs more intimate. "My son needs someone who sees beyond his wealth," she confided. "The company needs someone with integrity and fresh ideas. Are you talking about the marketing position or something else?" Jennifer asked, uncertain of Margaret's intent. Margaret's eyes twinkled mischievously. "Both, perhaps. Jackson works too much since his father died. He needs someone who challenges him." Before Jennifer could respond, Jackson returned. "I apologize for the interruption. Shall we head back to the office?" In the elevator returning to Westbrook Industries, Jackson unexpectedly asked, "Would you be available to start Monday? The position is yours if you want it." Jennifer blinked in surprise. "That's unusually quick." "I trust my instincts," he replied, not meeting her eyes. "And my mother's." Margaret beamed beside them. "Then yes," Jennifer answered, extending her hand. "I accept." What Jennifer couldn't know as she shook Jackson Westbrook's hand was that her impulsive decision to learn sign language 15 years ago hadn't just landed her a job, it had set in motion events that would challenge everything she thought she knew about love, loyalty, and what truly matters in life. The secrets within Westbrook Industries ran deeper than its gleaming facade suggested, and Jennifer Walsh was about to discover just how central she would become to the company's future, and to its enigmatic owner's closely guarded heart. Jennifer's first week at Westbrook Industries passed in a whirlwind of introductions, training sessions, and unexpected discoveries. By Friday afternoon, she had begun to understand that her role extended far beyond the job description. Jackson had assigned her to lead the rebranding campaign for their flagship product line, a responsibility typically reserved for senior executives with years of experience at the company. "You're making quite the impression," remarked Tiffany Rodriguez, the head of human resources, as they shared coffee in the break room. "Jackson never gives new hires this much responsibility." Jennifer stirred her coffee thoughtfully. "I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I can't help feeling there's more to my hiring than my marketing experience." Tiffany's expression shifted subtly. "Margaret Westbrook rarely visits the office, yet she's been here 3 times this week. Each time she stopped by your department." The observation confirmed Jennifer's suspicions. Margaret had indeed appeared at Jennifer's desk on multiple occasions, ostensibly to practice sign language, but inevitably steering the conversation toward her son. Each visit drew curious stares from Jennifer's colleagues. "Jackson lost his father 2 years ago," Tiffany continued, lowering her voice. "Since then, he's buried himself in work. Margaret worries about him." "She mentioned that during our lunch," Jennifer admitted, "but I'm not sure what that has to do with me." Tiffany raised an eyebrow. "No? A talented, beautiful woman who happens to speak his mother's language? I'd say Margaret has plans that extend beyond the company's marketing strategy." Jennifer felt heat rise to her cheeks. "That's ridiculous. Jackson barely knows me." "Perhaps," Tiffany conceded with a knowing smile. "But don't underestimate Margaret Westbrook. When she wants something, she usually gets it." The conversation left Jennifer unsettled. She had taken the position because it represented a significant career advancement, not to fulfill some matchmaking scheme orchestrated by her boss's mother. Later that afternoon, Jennifer was reviewing marketing materials when Jackson appeared at her cubicle. Unlike his usual formal attire, he wore a casual blue shirt with rolled-up sleeves, revealing strong forearms. "How's the campaign coming along?" he asked, leaning against the partition. "I've drafted 3 different approaches," Jennifer replied, handing him a folder. Each targets a different demographic while maintaining brand consistency. Jackson reviewed her work, his expression inscrutable. After several minutes, he looked up with surprise in his eyes. "This is exceptional work, especially for someone who's only been here a week." "Thank you," Jennifer replied, trying to ignore the flutter in her stomach at his praise. "Are you free tonight?" he asked abruptly. "The Williams Foundation is hosting a charity gala, and my mother insists I bring you along. Many of our key clients will be there." Jennifer hesitated, Tiffany's warnings echoing in her mind. "Is this a business function or a social one?" "Both," Jackson admitted. "My mother will be there, and she specifically requested your presence." He ran a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of uncertainty. "I understand this is last minute and beyond your job description. Will attending affect how you evaluate my performance here?" Jennifer asked bluntly. Jackson's eyes widened. "Absolutely not. Your work stands on its own merit." Jennifer studied him for a moment before deciding. "Then I'd be happy to attend. What time should I be ready?" "I'll send a car at 7, he replied, relief evident in his voice. "Thank you, Jennifer. This means a lot to my mother." "And to you?" she asked before she could stop herself. A hint of a smile played at his lips. "I find your company unexpectedly refreshing. In my position, that's rare." The gala proved more illuminating than Jennifer anticipated. Dressed in a borrowed emerald gown from Tiffany, who had eagerly offered fashion assistance, Jennifer found herself navigating the complex social dynamics of Chicago's elite. Jackson remained close, introducing her to important clients while keeping his hand lightly against the small of her back, a gesture that felt both protective and possessive. Margaret, resplendent in a silver gown that matched her hair, beamed upon seeing Jennifer. "You look beautiful," she signed enthusiastically. "I knew that color would suit you." Jennifer looked between mother and son. "You discussed what I should wear?" Jackson had the grace to look embarrassed. "Mother suggested Tiffany might have something appropriate." "I see," Jennifer replied, suspicions deepening about how orchestrated this evening might be. As the evening progressed, Jennifer noticed a striking blonde woman watching them from across the room. The woman's gaze was calculating, her perfect smile never reaching her eyes. "Who is that?" Jennifer asked Jackson during a quiet moment. He followed her gaze and tensed visibly. "Victoria Harrington. Her family owns Harrington Media Group. She seems very interested in our conversation." "We dated briefly last year," Jackson admitted reluctantly. "It ended messily." Before Jennifer could respond, Victoria glided over, her red gown clinging to her slender figure. "Jackson, darling," she purred, kissing his cheek, while her eyes assessed Jennifer coolly. "Won't you introduce me to your colleague?" "Victoria, this is Jennifer Walsh, our new marketing coordinator." "Jennifer Victoria Harrington." Victoria extended a manicured hand. "How lovely to meet you. Tell me, how did you manage to secure an invitation to this exclusive event after only a week at Westbrook?" The implication was clear, and Jennifer felt her professional pride flare. "I'm here at Margaret Westbrook's personal request," she replied evenly. "We share a special connection." Victoria's smile faltered slightly. How charming. Jackson's mother has always been involved in his affairs. Margaret chose that moment to join them, her timing impeccable. Jennifer immediately began signing, describing Victoria's thinly veiled hostility. Margaret's eyes danced with mischief as she responded with equally pointed signs. Jackson coughed, clearly understanding every word. "Ladies, perhaps we should join the others for dinner." Victoria watched their silent exchange with growing frustration. "I wasn't aware you knew sign language, Jennifer." "There's a lot you don't know about me," Jennifer replied pleasantly, "but Margaret and I have become quite close." During dinner, Jennifer found herself seated between Jackson and a distinguished older man introduced as Walter Chamberlain, Westbrook Industries' longest-serving board member. "Margaret speaks very highly of you," Walter commented as servers delivered the main course. "She believes you're exactly what Westbrook needs right now." Jennifer dabbed her lips with her napkin. "In what capacity?" Walter's eyes twinkled. "That depends on which Westbrook you ask, I imagine." The cryptic response left Jennifer pondering as Jackson engaged her in conversation about the company's history. Throughout dinner, she noticed Victoria watching them, her expression growing increasingly stormy. As the evening drew to a close, Jackson escorted Jennifer to the awaiting car. The night air was crisp, stars barely visible against Chicago's glowing skyline. "Thank you for coming tonight," Jackson said, his voice low. "You handled Victoria beautifully." Jennifer turned to face him. "I'd prefer not to be caught in the middle of your romantic complications, Jackson." "There's nothing between Victoria and me," he insisted. "She ended things when I refused to give her inside information about a potential merger. Her father's company was hoping to scoop the story. And yet she clearly believes there's unfinished business between you." Jackson stepped closer, his scent, subtle cologne mingled with something uniquely him, enveloping her. "The only unfinished business in my life involves the future of my company. My father built Westbrook Industries from nothing. When he died, he left me not just a corporation, but a legacy." The raw emotion in his voice caught Jennifer off guard. This wasn't the polished, controlled executive she'd observed all week. "You feel like you're carrying it alone," she observed softly. Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. "Sometimes." The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken possibility. Then Jackson stepped back, professional demeanor returning as he opened the car door for her. "The driver will take you home. I'll see you Monday." As the car pulled away, Jennifer caught a glimpse of Victoria emerging from the venue, her gaze fixed on Jackson's retreating figure. Something about the woman's expression sent a chill through Jennifer. It wasn't just jealousy, it was calculation. What Jennifer couldn't know as she headed home was that Victoria Harrington harbored secrets that could threaten everything Jackson had worked to preserve. Nor could she anticipate that by Monday morning, those secrets would begin to unravel, forcing Jennifer to decide where her loyalties truly lay, with her career, with the enigmatic man who employed her, or with the truth that could destroy them both. Monday morning arrived with an unexpected storm, both literal and figurative. Thunder rumbled over Chicago as Jennifer dashed from the subway station to Westbrook Industries' towering headquarters, rain pelting her umbrella with vicious determination. The weather seemed to mirror the chaos that greeted her inside. The lobby buzzed with unusual tension. Security guards spoke in hushed tones, and employees huddled in concerned clusters near the elevators. Jennifer spotted Tiffany waving her over urgently. "Thank goodness you're here," Tiffany whispered, pulling Jennifer aside. "Have you seen the news?" "I was underground on the subway," Jennifer replied, shaking rain from her coat. "What's happening?" Tiffany thrust her phone into Jennifer's hands. The headline from the Chicago Business Journal blazed across the screen: "Westbrook Industries accused of fraud. Sources claim CEO Jackson Westbrook falsified financial reports." Jennifer's stomach dropped. The article, written by Victoria Harrington, alleged that Westbrook had inflated company earnings for the past 2 years to maintain investor confidence after his father's death. An unnamed senior executive had provided internal documents supporting the claims. "This is absurd," Jennifer said, scrolling through the damning article. "Jackson would never—" "It gets worse," Tiffany interrupted. "The board called an emergency meeting this morning. There's talk of asking Jackson to step down until an investigation is completed." The elevator doors opened, and Jennifer's heart constricted at the sight of Jackson. His normally immaculate appearance was subtly disheveled, his tie slightly askew, dark circles shadowing his eyes. He nodded curtly to both women before disappearing into a waiting elevator. "He's been here since 5 a.m., Tiffany explained. "The PR team is going crazy trying to draft a response." She hesitated. Victoria Harrington was spotted leaving his office 20 minutes ago." "Victoria?" Jennifer felt a prickle of unease. What was she doing here? "No one knows, but she looked satisfied." Throughout the morning, Jennifer tried to focus on her work, but the office remained in upheaval. Around 11, she received a text from an unknown number. "Please come to my home. Need your help. Margaret Westbrook." An address in Lincoln Park followed. Jennifer hesitated only briefly before informing her department head she needed to step out for a personal emergency. 30 minutes later, she arrived at a stunning brownstone overlooking the park. Margaret opened the door immediately, her normally composed features strained with worry. She ushered Jennifer inside, her hands moving in agitated signs. "Thank you for coming," she signed. "I didn't know who else to trust." The elegant home was filled with tasteful antiques and family photographs. Jennifer noticed several featuring a younger Margaret with a distinguished man who shared Jackson's strong jawline, undoubtedly his late father, Richard Westbrook. "What's happening, Margaret?" Jennifer asked, following the older woman into a sunlit sitting room. "The article, lies," Margaret signed emphatically. "All lies, but dangerous ones." She gestured for Jennifer to sit beside her on a velvet sofa. "Victoria Harrington has orchestrated this attack. Her father wants to acquire Westbrook Industries at a fraction of its value." "How do you know?" "Because she told Jackson this morning." Step down voluntarily, sell his controlling shares to Harrington Media Group, or face criminal charges and watch the company's value plummet. Jennifer gasped. That's blackmail. Margaret nodded grimly. Richard, my husband, once prevented Harold Harrington from acquiring a valuable media outlet. Harold never forgave him. Now with Richard gone, he sees his opportunity for revenge through his daughter. But the documents... Manipulated, Margaret signed. Our CFO believes they've been selectively edited to support the false narrative. Jennifer frowned, processing the implications. Why am I here, Margaret? I'm just a marketing coordinator. I've barely been with the company a week. Margaret's hands stilled momentarily before she continued signing. Because you see people clearly, Jennifer. You communicate on multiple levels. And because, she hesitated, my son trusts you. Jennifer shook her head. He barely knows me. He knows enough. Margaret rose, retrieving a leather-bound journal from a nearby bookshelf. Richard kept meticulous notes about company decisions, including the restructuring that Victoria's article claims was fraudulent. She pressed the journal into Jennifer's hands. This contains the truth, but Jackson doesn't know it exists. Richard intended to show him once the transition was complete. Why didn't you give this to Jackson directly? Margaret's expression grew troubled. Harold Harrington has people watching our family. If Jackson suddenly produces evidence countering Victoria's claims, they'll claim he fabricated it. Her hands moved more slowly now. But if someone unconnected, someone who couldn't possibly have a personal stake in protecting Jackson, were to discover this evidence independently, understanding dawned on Jennifer. You want me to be that someone? To find this evidence accidentally? Margaret nodded. I'm not asking you to lie, Jennifer, only to help uncover the truth. Jennifer stared at the journal, conflicting emotions swirling within her. Her career was just beginning at Westbrook. Involving herself in corporate intrigue could derail everything she'd worked for. Yet something deeper pulled at her, the memory of Jackson's vulnerability the night of the gala, his passion for preserving his father's legacy. There's more at stake than just the company, Margaret signed, watching Jennifer's internal struggle. If these accusations stand, Jackson loses everything, his reputation, possibly his freedom. Does he know I'm here? Jennifer asked. No, Margaret admitted. He would never involve you in this. He's too honorable. The word resonated with Jennifer. In her brief time at Westbrook, she'd observed Jackson's unwavering commitment to ethical business practices. The fraud allegations contradicted everything she'd seen. What would you have me do? Jennifer finally asked. Relief flooded Margaret's features. Return to the office. Review the financial documents from last year's annual report. They're public record. Compare them with Richard's notes. The discrepancy will become obvious. As Jennifer prepared to leave, Margaret caught her hand. Why did you agree to help? She signed. You have everything to lose and nothing to gain. Jennifer considered the question seriously. Because integrity matters, she finally replied. You taught me that, through Jackson. Back at the office, Jennifer discreetly gathered the public financial reports and settled into an empty conference room. For hours, she cross-referenced figures from Richard's journal with the published data. By late afternoon, she had discovered the crucial discrepancy. Not fraud, but a legitimate accounting adjustment following a European acquisition. Richard had documented the entire process, including consultations with independent auditors who had approved the approach. Jennifer was preparing to bring her findings to Jackson when the conference room door opened. Victoria Harrington stood in the doorway, immaculately dressed in a designer suit, her blonde hair swept into a perfect chignon. Working late, Miss Walsh? Victoria asked, her voice honey-sweet with underlying venom. Such dedication from a new employee. Jennifer closed the journal casually. Just familiarizing myself with last year's marketing spend. Research for my current project. Victoria's gaze dropped to the financial reports spread across the table. Interesting research materials for a marketing coordinator. She stepped closer. You know, Jennifer, there's an opportunity here for someone smart enough to seize it. Someone with your talents. What do you mean? Victoria smiled thinly. Harrington Media Group will need marketing expertise once we acquire Westbrook Industries. A senior position could be arranged for someone who understands which side will ultimately win. The blatant attempt at recruitment stunned Jennifer. You seem very confident about the outcome. It's already decided, Victoria replied, examining her manicured nails. By this time tomorrow, Jackson Westbrook will be facing a board revolt and possible criminal charges. Her cold eyes met Jennifer's, unless, of course, He accepts our very generous offer, and if evidence emerges proving the allegations false, something dangerous flickered in Victoria's expression. There won't be any such evidence. We've been very thorough. She leaned closer. Whatever you think you've found won't matter. The narrative is already established. The public believes what we tell them to believe. As Victoria turned to leave, she paused at the door. Consider my offer, Jennifer. Loyalty to a falling empire is career suicide. You have until tomorrow morning to decide. The door closed behind her, leaving Jennifer shaken but more determined than ever. The game had changed. Victoria's visit confirmed that this was indeed a calculated attack. Now Jennifer had to decide not just whether to act, but how quickly. Outside the windows of Westbrook Tower, lightning flashed across Chicago's darkening sky. Tomorrow would bring either vindication or devastation for Jackson Westbrook. And Jennifer Walsh, the woman who had entered his life by chance just days ago, now held the key to his future in her hands. Dawn broke over Chicago with crystal clarity, the previous day's storm yielding to brilliant autumn sunshine. Jennifer hadn't gone home. After Victoria's threatening visit, she had worked through the night, compiling evidence and preparing her strategy. By 7 a.m., fueled by determination and office coffee, she was ready. The Westbrook Industries board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. According to Tiffany's inside information, Victoria and her father would present their takeover proposal immediately after pushing for Jackson's temporary removal. Jennifer had precisely 2 hours to prevent a corporate coup. She tried calling Jackson, but his phone went straight to voicemail. With no other options, Jennifer headed to his penthouse apartment, address courtesy of Margaret's contact information. The doorman initially refused her entry until she mentioned Margaret's name, at which point his demeanor changed completely. Ms. Westbrook called ahead, he explained, escorting her to the private elevator. Mr. Westbrook is expecting you. Jackson opened his door mid-knock, his expression shifting from wary to surprised. Jennifer, what are you doing here? He looked exhausted, his usually impeccable appearance replaced by rumpled clothes and stubble shadowing his jaw. Behind him, Jennifer glimpsed a living room covered with papers and empty coffee cups. We need to talk, she said, stepping past him into the apartment. The board meeting is in 2 hours, Jackson finished, running a hand through his disheveled hair. When I'll likely be asked to resign from my own company. Not if I can help it. Jennifer placed Richard's journal on the coffee table alongside the financial documents she'd gathered. Your mother found this. It's your father's record of the European acquisition and the accounting adjustments that followed. Jackson stared at the journal, recognition dawning in his eyes. Dad's business journal. He kept one for every major transaction. He looked up sharply. How you've been working with my mother. She trusted me, Jennifer replied simply, and I trust that you're innocent of these accusations. Something complex moved across Jackson's features, gratitude, relief, and something deeper that Jennifer wasn't ready to name. He reached for the journal with reverent hands. The key evidence is on pages 42 through 46, Jennifer explained as he flipped through it. Your father documented every meeting with the auditors, every approval for the accounting methodology. Victoria's article deliberately mischaracterizes these legitimate adjustments as fraud. Jackson absorbed the information rapidly, his fatigue giving way to focused energy. This could save everything, he murmured, but how do we present it? Victoria will claim it's fabricated. That's why I've already sent copies to 3 independent financial journalists, Jennifer replied with a small smile. Along with public documents that support your father's notes, I emphasize that I discovered this independently as a new employee with no reason to protect you. Jackson looked up from the journal, astonishment plain on his face. You did all this overnight? For me? Why? Jennifer met his gaze steadily. Because what's happening isn't just business. It's wrong. And because... She hesitated. I've seen enough of who you are to know you deserve better. The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken possibilities. Then Jackson stood abruptly. We need to move quickly, he said, professional determination reasserting itself. The board meets in 90 minutes. Let me shower and change. While Jackson prepared, Jennifer received confirmation that all 3 journalists had reviewed her materials. One had already published an online analysis questioning Victoria's claims and raising concerns about potential stock manipulation by Harrington Media Group. By the time they arrived at Westbrook Tower, the narrative was already shifting. Board members huddled in small groups outside the conference room, phones in hand as they read the breaking news. Victoria stood with her father, a silver-haired man with cold eyes, both looking increasingly agitated as they checked their devices. Victoria spotted Jennifer entering alongside Jackson, her eyes narrowing dangerously. "You," she hissed, stalking toward them. "You think this changes anything?" "It changes everything, Victoria," Jackson replied calmly. "Your father's attempted hostile takeover has failed." Harold Harrington stepped forward. "This isn't over, Westbrook. One convenient journal won't save you." "It's not just the journal," Jennifer interjected, drawing surprised looks from both Harringtons. "It's the email trail between your daughter and your company's financial analyst, discussing how to reframe Westbrook's legitimate accounting practices as fraud." Harold paled visibly. "What emails?" "The ones Victoria sent from her company account," Jennifer continued. "The account managed by Westbrook's IT department as part of your media partnership." This was a calculated bluff. Jennifer had no such emails but suspected they existed. Victoria's composure cracked. "You're lying." "You couldn't have—" "Miss Walsh doesn't lie," came Margaret's voice as she approached from behind, her interpreter signing her words. "Unlike some people." The board chair cleared his throat loudly. "I believe our meeting agenda has changed significantly. Mr. Harrington, Ms. Harrington, I think your presence is no longer required." As security escorted the Harringtons from the building, Jennifer stood to leave as well. This was a board matter now, and her role was finished. Jackson caught her arm gently. "Stay," he said simply. "Please." 3 hours later, Jennifer sat in Jackson's office as he concluded an emergency press conference. The board had unanimously reaffirmed their support, and Westbrook stock had already rebounded from the previous day's losses. Preliminary legal proceedings against Harrington Media Group for market manipulation were being prepared. "You were brilliant," Margaret signed as they watched Jackson on the television. "I knew you were the one we needed." "The one you needed for what exactly?" Jennifer asked, the question that had lingered since her hiring finally surfacing. "Margaret, did you orchestrate all of this from the beginning?" Margaret's eyes twinkled. "I arranged for you to interview when I saw your application mentioned ASL proficiency. The rest, your integrity, your courage, how you and Jackson respond to each other, that's beyond even my considerable planning abilities." Before Jennifer could respond, Jackson entered, his expression lighter than she'd seen since meeting him. The room cleared quickly, leaving them alone. "The board voted to appoint you Director of Strategic Communications," Jackson announced without preamble. "Effective immediately with a substantial salary increase." Jennifer blinked in surprise. "That's a significant promotion." "You saved the company, Jennifer. The board recognizes that." "And what do you recognize?" she asked, finding unexpected boldness. "Why did you really hire me, Jackson? Was it just because I could sign with your mother?" He moved closer, his professional mask slipping. "At first, yes. I saw how happy you made her, how easily you connected." He shook his head slightly. "But then I saw you, truly saw you, your integrity, your intelligence, the way you stand your ground." "Is that enough?" Jennifer asked softly. "For whatever this is becoming between us?" "No," he admitted, "but it's a beginning." He reached for her hand. "I'd like to find out what else we might discover about each other, away from crisis and corporate politics." "What about the company policy on workplace relationships?" A smile tugged at his lips. "I believe the CEO has some discretion in special circumstances." "And your mother's matchmaking?" Jackson laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "We'll never hear the end of it. But I think we can forgive her meddling just this once." 3 months later, Jennifer stood at the window of her new office, spacious, with a view of Lake Michigan that rivaled Jackson's. Her promotion had proven well-deserved. Under her guidance, Westbrook's rebranding campaign had exceeded all projections. Her phone chimed with a message from Jackson. "Dinner tonight? Mom insists on cooking at her place, says she has an important announcement." Jennifer smiled, suspecting what Margaret's announcement might be. Yesterday, she had caught the older woman researching vacation properties in Tuscany, specifically venues that hosted weddings. Margaret's matchmaking ambitions had clearly not diminished. What had begun with a simple job interview and an unexpected connection through sign language had transformed Jennifer's life completely. She had found not just a career but a purpose, not just a boyfriend but a partner who valued her mind as much as her heart. And in Margaret, she had found a champion, mentor, and friend who saw possibilities before they existed. As she texted her reply to Jackson, Jennifer reflected on how the smallest gestures sometimes lead to the greatest changes. Her decision to learn sign language for a childhood friend had ultimately opened doors she never imagined. To a career beyond her dreams, to a family formed by choice as much as circumstance, and to a love built on mutual respect and shared values. That evening, as she signed animated stories with Margaret while Jackson prepared drinks, Jennifer realized she had found her place, not just at Westbrook Industries, but in a family that communicated in ways far deeper than words alone. When Jackson caught her eye across the room, his smile containing promises they were only beginning to explore, Jennifer knew with absolute certainty that some connections transcend language, transforming lives in ways that leave everyone stunned by their power and permanence.